Hello, welcome to the Oasis Insight training session. I first want to thank you so much for choosing Oasis Insight for your organization, and please know we're so very honored to share how Oasis Insight can best serve you. Oasis was designed to empower you and your staff or volunteers to quickly and easily record and report valuable data about those individuals you're feeding and serving. Many viewing this training video will be food bank staff or food bank partner agencies, while others may be standalone food pantries or food shelves using the system in-house only. Either way, I hope you'll learn the basics of the system during this training session so you'll feel empowered to get in and begin using it right away. One other item before we get started, if you're required to do CSFP or TFAP, another training video will likely be required. You can reach out to your network administrator, or if you're not sure, contact the Oasis Insight support team. My name is Kyle Minkler. I'm a member of the Oasis Insight support team, and my goal will be to take you through the system using a practice site that you too can access for a hands-on learning experience. This training session has been designed for either an individual user or a room full of trainees logging into a practice site that we've set up for you. Our hope either way is that you're at a computer or in a computer lab setting where you can log into the practice site and follow along with this video. All right, let's go to the practice site together. You'll see on the screen the web address you'll need to go to is there displayed, practice.oasisinsight.net. You can pause this video, open a new web browser window or tab in your browser. Google Chrome is a great browser to use. And then visit practice.oasisinsight.net. Again, type practice.oasisinsight.net into your address bar. Then resume this video when you're ready. Great, you should now see a login screen. There it asks for an email address and a password. You can use the practice credentials that have been provided to you by a training facilitator if you're in a group session, or if you're just doing this solo, use practice, a number, at oasisinsight.net. The number could be number 1, number 2, all the way up to 19. Practice, a number, at oasisinsight.net. I'm going to use practice1 at oasisinsight.net. The password you'll use is practice123. Next, enter the password practice123, and please note the word practice is all lowercase letters. Lastly, click login and we'll get started. Oasis Insight is a web-based tool, so what you'll need to access the system is a computer with an internet connection and an up-to-date web browser. We take security and client confidentiality very, very seriously here at Oasis Insight. It is our livelihood. We want to start off by saying that all of the information that you enter into Oasis Insight is secure. We employ a lot of the same security methods used with online banking. Everything that's entered into Oasis Insight is encrypted as it's sent across the internet and also encrypted at rest on the cloud-based servers. That encryption is industry standard, and we are always improving our security to make sure Oasis is as secure as it can be. In addition to that, each person that accesses Oasis Insight must do so using your own unique login credentials. Every person will have to use their own email address and password combination. There's no sharing of login information. The reason for this is we want to preserve the integrity of the database. If any information is entered in by you, we want it to be connected with you. So we could go back and ask a question. Your food bank staff could see who added that information and when, and see a date and time stamp on anything that was entered into the system. You'll be provided your login credentials by the food bank staff. Your food bank is the network administrator. A network administrator can grant access to any partner agencies that they wish to have access to the system. When you're granted access, an email will be sent to you, which you can click and set up your login credentials at that time. If you're an administrator for your agency, as we'll see shortly, you can add additional agents from your agency to log in alongside you. But please note that they can't use your login information. You'll have to give them their own login credentials by adding them under the My Agency tab. Your Oasis Insight login screen is located at a very secure site, something.oasisinsight.net. You'll go to that web address and enter in your email address and password to access the system. At this time, I'm going to log into the Oasis Insight site using my email address and password. The first time you log into the system, you will be asked to agree to the Oasis Insight Terms of Service. You can feel free to click the Terms of Service link to open those up in a new tab or a new window. Once you review those terms, enter in your initials, and then click the Agree and Continue button. Now, here on the screen is what we'll see when we first log into Oasis. Up in the top left corner, you'll see your name and then the agency that you belong to in yellow lettering. Over on the left, there's a couple buttons, Search and Add New Case. These are the main features of the system. You also might see another button called Barcode Mode on the left. We'll explore Barcode Mode a little bit later. And then in the top right corner, there's a few colored tabs, Home, My Agency, and Agencies. We tried to make Oasis as straightforward and easy to follow as possible. You'll see these colored tabs and these large buttons throughout the system. We hope you find those to be straightforward. Let's begin by looking at the Home tab in the top right. The Home tab is the first screen you see when you log in. At the top, you'll see a community dashboard, and then below that, there's a bulletin board area. The community dashboard at the top of the screen is going to show you the daily impact that your agency and all the other agencies on your food bank network are having on your neighbors, on those clients that you're serving day in and day out by your pantry and your program. The total number of people served will be represented here as this first number on the dashboard. Also, the number of assistance records. Every time you assist a client with a box of food or a distribution from your food pantry, TFAT box, CSFP box, whatever type of assistance that's provided, that's counted as one assistance record here on the dashboard. If any of those assistance records are associated with a dollar amount, the cumulative total on the assistance portion here on the right will display that value. Also, as we'll take a look at later, your agency can generate much more detailed reports for what your specific contributions have been to this dashboard. In short, we just wanted to show the impact of your food bank network here each and every day, and these numbers are increasing all the time. Below the dashboard, you'll find the bulletin board section. It's found below this red bar that goes from left to right. There's a button that says Add Bulletin that you can click to add a bulletin, and then below that red bar, you can see any past bulletins that were entered. This is a communication tool. Food bank staff members can post bulletins about upcoming meetings, a change in policy and procedure, or any other sort of notification. Partner agencies can also use the bulletin board to communicate. You could use this to ask a question of either the food bank or partner agencies, or maybe even get a client's specific needs met if there's a unique situation that you encounter. Any bulletin that's posted can include an email notification. So when the bulletin is added to the bulletin board section here, it displays below this red bar, but it also sends out an email notification. So if you're not logged into Oasis at the time, you can still see that notification in your email inbox. On the right of any of these bulletins, there is a place to post a comment. Comments allow for two-way communication. The agent that first posted the bulletin will see the comments that are added and they can reply to them. We see an example of a bulletin here, Food Bank event next Friday. Any details about the bulletin are found below. The agent from what agency that posted the bulletin is also listed. Let's say that a client came into my food pantry seeking assistance, and in that conversation they explained that their refrigerator no longer worked in their home. Well, if my food pantry was unable to donate a refrigerator to that client, we could use the bulletin board to communicate and see if there's another organization nearby that might be able to help meet that need. In this example, we would click the Add Bulletin button here. On the screen that appears, we enter a title and a description. Any bulletin can also have an expiration date. This will automatically remove the bulletin from the bulletin board on that certain date that you set. This is optional. In this example, I don't need an expiration date. If this bulletin were about a meeting, it might be helpful to have an expiration date, so it automatically removes this from the bulletin board after the meeting has taken place. Below that, I can opt to send out an email notification to all agencies or not. This checkbox is checked by default. I can uncheck that if I don't want an email to be sent out. Also, I can attach a document if there was a meeting agenda or a sign-up sheet or a flyer that I wanted to attach to this bulletin. I would just click Browse, find the file on my computer, and attach it. When I'm done adding the bulletin, I click the Add Bulletin button. Here we see the bulletin that I just added. If anyone wanted to post a comment to reply to my bulletin, they could do that over here on the right by clicking Post the First Comment. We hope that you find the bulletin board to be a helpful tool there at your agency. The next tab to visit is the blue My Agency tab up in the top right. Whatever type of organization you represent, whether you are a faith-based pantry or a nonprofit, government agency, we use the term agency to represent your organization. Your agency's name will be listed on this tab, as well as your contact information. This information is visible to both food bank staff and any other participating partner agencies on your network, so please be sure your agency's contact information, hours of operation, mission statement, and so forth is all up to date. You can update this information by clicking the blue Edit Agency Information link to the right. Here is also where we manage the agents at your agency. We can see below this red bar that says Agents that my agency only has one staff member, Kyle Minkler. I can add new agents, additional staff members, or volunteers that need access to Oasis by clicking the Add Agent button. Please note that you'll only see the Add Agent button if you are designated as the administrator of your particular agency. To add an agent, you click this button, and on the screen that appears, you put in the name and contact information for that staff member. You can choose to give this staff member a password, or if you leave it blank, when Joey is emailed his welcome email, he can set up his own password on that screen. Once you add a new agent, to the right of any agent's name, you can change their password. Also, you can click Edit. The Edit screen allows you to change the role of the agent. A role is simply the permissions that that particular agent has access to. If you're an agency administrator, you can do this for any agents at your agency. I can make Joey an agency administrator alongside me by clicking this radio button. Any agents, when they're first added, will default to the role Agent. To add additional agents, we click the Add Agent button over and over again until all our agents are set up. The My Agency tab has these black sub-tabs that we'll come back to a little bit later. The third tab you'll see in the top right is called Agencies. Agencies is a directory of all the partner agencies on your network. Your network administrator at the food bank determines what partners have access to the system. You'll see an alphabetical list of all the partners here, and if we wanted to see the contact information for a specific agency, like Do Unto Others, we can click on their name to get their contact information displayed on the screen. There's also a subtab called Agents. Remember, an agent is a staff member or volunteer from any agency on the network. Here's an alphabetical list of all the agents in our network. I'm going to click back to the Home tab now, and I'd like to get into the main features of the system at this time. If you'll bring your attention to the left side of the screen, you'll see the Search and Add New Case buttons. Really, everything in Oasis Insight is centered around a person, a client, someone that comes to you seeking assistance, and you provide that assistance to them. Each client or case will have their own case file in the database. It's like a file in a filing cabinet. Every person has their own unique case file, and you can use the search button in the left to search for that client's case file and open it on the screen. If you search and you find that client's case, you can review the information that's there and add new details today under that case. If you search and you don't find that case, you click the Add New Case button on the left. Below Search and Add New Case, there's a list of recent cases and a list of recent searches. These recent lists are unique to me, Kyle Minkler. It will show me the last few cases that I visited and also a list of the recent searches that I've performed in the system. If I don't want to see my list of recent cases or searches, I can click this little triangle out to the right, and it will collapse these screens if I don't want them visible. Let's do a quick example to show how these tools work. Let's say today, our food pantry is distributing food, and a client comes to us named John Smith. The first thing we want to do is click search on the left, and in the simple search bar that appears to the right, we'll type in John's first and last name. You could press enter on your keyboard or click the search button out to the right, and below your search terms, you'll see a list of possible matches below. The most relevant match will be there at the top, and it will highlight in yellow what matches your search terms that you entered. We do have an exact match. There is a client named John Smith in the database. If we're not sure, or we had a lot of clients with case files named John Smith, we could use the Advanced Search button on the right side of the screen. Advanced Search allows you to search by more than just name. You could search by other identifiers, maybe a name and a date of birth combination, or street address, phone number. In this Advanced Search, I'm going to search both by name, John Smith, and date of birth. In the results of the Advanced Search, we do have an exact match both by name and by date of birth. Once we're confident that we found the case we're working with today, we just click on his or her name to open up their case file. Here we have John's case. Over on the right side of the screen, you might see a photo of John. You could click this little pencil and take a photo that's associated with the case using a webcam or a digital camera. Below the optional picture, there's some basic information about Mr. Smith, and then there's these colored tabs. Now, the color tabs on the right side of the screen might be different for you depending on what features you have available. But the idea is we can click through each of the colored tabs on the right and see that relevant information. Starting first with personal information. This is an overview for John. Any information that might have been collected will be displayed here under the personal info window. Info such as address, date of birth, phone number, etc. The administrator of your Oasis account can customize many of these fields like gender, ethnicity, and so forth. We call those demographics. We have a saying, if you can record it, you can report it. So with the administrator's help, this data can be tailored to record exactly what you need to report on later. If any of John's information needs to be updated, we always can click Edit Case here at the top if we have the proper permissions to do so. If you don't see Edit Case, it means that you don't have the permission to edit the file. Clicking Edit Case will open up a window where we can make an adjustment. Let's say we want to add a new phone number for Mr. Smith, a work phone number. I click Edit Case. On the window that appears, we can add a phone number under the Phone Numbers section. Just click the Add Phone Number link. Enter a description and a phone number. We can also click to the different tabs at the top. We'll come back to those in more detail shortly. Scroll to the bottom of the screen and click Save Changes when you're done making a modification to the case. There we have it. The latest phone number will be displayed under the Personal Info area. Below that, you'll see a History of Modification section. This is where we can see a history of any of the changes, whether some data was added or removed or modified in some way. We'll see what agent from what agency modified it, when it was modified, there's a date and time stamp, and then what was added or changed or removed. We see it right there. Continuing to the next tab, Assistance, on the right, we click there and we can see a history of past assistance records provided to John Smith or anyone living with John in his household. The number 10 out to the right of the Assistance tab is just a quick reference to show that in the past this household has been assisted 10 times. Under the Assistance tab, we're going to see every assistance record with the most recent record always there at the top of the list. You don't need to scroll down and try to find the most recent one. It's always there at the top. And on every assistance record, we know who, when, and what the assistance was that was provided. What I mean by this is each assistance record, there we can see what agent and what agency they represent, the date and time that the assistance was provided, and then what was provided. Every record is made up of an amount, a unit, such as 1 box bag or 25 pounds or 1 visit or 6 meals, whatever you want, and then a category. In our example here, back on September 24th, Kyle Minkler assisted with 1 box bag of food from the food pantry distribution. Prior to that, he was also served on March 31st with 1 box bag from the food pantry distribution, and so on. I could go back in time as far as I need to. A couple other handy tools. Here at the top, I can click Show and sort my assistants by a particular category by clicking this All drop-down. And I can just see assistants from one category, one type of a service. Also, these checkboxes, as we'll see in a minute, when we go to relationships, we can link people together. If I want to see all the assistance provided to not only John, but anyone living with John, the default checkboxes are checked for that. But if I wanted to also see people related to John that might not necessarily be living with him that got assisted, I can check this third checkbox. Alternatively, if I want to uncheck living with and just see what was provided directly to John, I can do that right here. Let's do an example together of recording an assistance record for today. There's a button there at the top that says Add Assistance. You click the Add Assistance button whenever you want to record a new assistance record. Let's do that now. On the window that appears, we would enter an amount, a unit, and a category that best represents the assistance that I'm providing to him today. Oasis remembers the last category that you've used, and any defaults like the amount and unit would automatically populate. But you can change it easily. Just click the drop down for category, select another category of assistance. You can update the amount and unit, and then put a description if you'd like. I'm going to say we provided 5 meals to John and his family. The description is optional. You can also adjust the date and time if you'd like. Sometimes attaching an associated file to the record will be helpful. If I clicked Browse, I could find a file on my computer, whether it be an image or PDF or something related to the assistance. I'll skip that for our example today. Also, Visible To. You can always change the privacy settings on an assistance record if that's your desire. Please know that your administrator of your network might have sharing settings that prevent information from being shared outside of your agency. If that's the case, you won't be able to change Visible To, but you'll know that that information isn't being shared with other organizations. It will say Visible To My Agency only as default. When we're done, we click Add, or we click Save and Add Another if there was other types of assistance that we're providing to John during his visit. And there's the assistance record right here. Whenever I run a report later, it's going to show in my reports that John Smith was served this morning with 5 meals from the Community Kitchen program, or whatever example that you're showing there on your screen. Moving next to relationships, this is where we can see household members that might have been linked under John's family, or any cases that are related to John. When we served John a minute ago, we really served a household made up of 4 people: John, his wife Jessica, daughter Sally, and his cousin Tommy. Each of those people, Jessica, Sally, and Tommy, have their own case file here within the system, but they're linked together with a relationship. I can edit any relationships by clicking the edit link to the right. I could also completely delete a relationship if I need to. Please know that if I do delete a relationship, the household size will automatically adjust, and the case file will still remain in the database. There will just no longer be a relationship between the 2 cases. We'll get into relationships more in just a minute when we add a new household, but I also wanted to say numbers on reports for household totals are based upon the relationships tab typically. Let's say that John's cousin Tommy Smith no longer lives at that address. We can edit the relationship to the right and move Tommy into a new household and out of this household. We would uncheck where it says Tommy is a dependent of John Smith and they both live at the same address. We click Save Changes. Now, our household reflects 3 people, John, Jessica, and Sally. You'll see it's denoted with the Living With option right here. And Tommy is still related to John. They're still cousins, but he's no longer listed as part of that household. You'll also note under the Personal Info screen, the Total Living and Household field here automatically adjusted from 4 to 3. We can move Tommy back into the household if we want. Just check those boxes and click Save. Relationships are also helpful when looking at household members, because if John came in today and also his wife Jessica tomorrow, that's okay, but we would see under Jessica's assistance tab that her husband John was served today. Relationships give you a bird's eye view of the household as a whole and what assistance may be provided to those in the household. Notes. Notes tab is where we can record conversation notes, details about John. We click Add Note here to record a note. A note's description, the date and time, and also a file can be attached here under the Notes section. Just like an assistance record, there's typically an option to make a note private or visible only to your agency. Click Add Note when you're done. Documents. This is where we can upload and attach files. All the time we help organizations move from paper to a paperless process, and part of that is a need to upload and attach documents. I should also mention any files that have been uploaded under Notes or Assistance appear under the Documents tab. It's kind of a catch-all for any documents that might have been associated with John Smith's case. To add a document, we just click the Add Document button. Let's say there was a letter or a proof of residency from a landlord that we wanted to associate with John's case. Click Browse and find that scanned letter or document on your computer. And attach it. In the description, I might put details about the file. Again, we can make it visible to all agencies or just private to my agency if I wish, and click Add Document. If there's something important about John that you want to alert your team about, you can post an alert under the Alerts tab. Perhaps John had a large house fire and we wanted to alert our team about that situation so they could be ready and perhaps go above and beyond when serving John and his family. We click Add Alert to post an alert about that fire. On alerts, we have an option to send an email notification that goes along with the alert. It does send out an email alert to all staff that have access to this case. It's unchecked by default, but we could choose to check that if we'd like. When I click Add Alert, the alert is added. Something that's cool about alerts is if there's at least one alert on the case, whenever we go to John Smith's case in the future, whether it's 5 minutes from now, 5 days from now, 5 weeks from now, and we search and open his case file, if there's at least one alert on the case, that's going to be the first screen that pops up. The staff can heed the alert and take action from there. We want to also provide tools that help you streamline your distribution process whenever possible. Appointments is a way for you to schedule a client like John for a date and time in the future when they can come and pick up food. We can view past appointments here. We can also click Add Appointment to create a new appointment. Whenever we create an appointment, we have the option to change the appointment type. A custom appointment is for any date and time in the future. I simply select the date and enter the start and end time for the appointment. I can then specify whether the person gets a reminder via email, SMS text, or both email and SMS text. I can even add notes to the appointment like that. Something that's handy is also other appointment types that you can set up under your My Agency tab. I already have 2 appointment types that are set up. A weekly food pickup appointment that's recurring, and also counseling sessions. When I select an appointment type, the calendar below automatically adjusts and grays out any days that are unavailable for that appointment type. I can see the next available appointment type is November 18th. If I click on that day, it's going to show me any available time slots that might be open. If that time will work for John, I click the radio button and select that time window. If there were other time periods available, I'd see them here in this list as options. If they're already at capacity, then those time slots will not be visible. Because in addition to creating an appointment type and specifying what days and times for that appointment availability, you can set capacity limits for an appointment type. For example, from 10 to 12, maybe I can see a total of 50 clients. I can schedule 50 appointments for that time window, but when I try to schedule my 51st appointment, it will no longer show up as at capacity. We click Add Appointment when we're done. We can look at all of our appointments that have been scheduled under our blue My Agency tab under the Appointments sub-tab. We won't go there right now, but that's where you go to see any appointments and even print off like a daily schedule. That's a quick run through of a client's case file. Now, below those color tabs on the right, you'll see a few other options. Edit case, that's where I can edit any basic information on the client. Merge case, if you're not an administrator, you'll see a button that says flag case. Delete case, that's only for administrators, and then case report. Just to unpack these a little bit more, edit case, that's where I can go and adjust someone's contact information, their demographics, and so forth. Flag case is a tool that if you're not an administrator, you can flag a case if you notice that it potentially is a duplicate. You can send a message that says, "Attention administrator, this case appears to be a duplicate. Please merge with the other case in the system." You could also send a flag case that says, "Please delete this case, I added it by mistake." Flag case is simply a tool that allows you to contact your network administrator and alert them or flag a case for some reason. If you're an administrator, merge case allows you to merge two case files together into one. All associated notes, relationships, assistance records all carry over. Delete case allows you to delete a case, and we limit that only to network administrators because one could potentially remove important data by mistake. Case report is a way for us to run a report just for one individual. I could print out a summary of all assistance provided to John in the past, or maybe a more comprehensive report that it also includes relationships, notes, other data. When you run a case report, the settings of that case report carry over for future use. Below that, you might see a case ID link. We're going to come back to that later and explore the barcode scanning and case ID features. I'm going to click back to the white Home tab. Very often, you'll encounter a situation where you'll search for a client's case and it's not found in the database. If you search and you don't find the case you're looking for, you'll click the Add New Case button on the left to enter in a brand new case for the client. I'm going to click the Add New Case button, and on the screen that appears, we're going to fill out as much information about the client as we have. Please note that some fields like first name and last name are required. They have a red asterisk next to them. You're not able to add a new case until these required fields are satisfied. I'm going to add a brand new case using my family as an example. Let's say my client's name is Kyle Minkler. You'll notice all the fields, you can click in them with your mouse or use the tab key on your keyboard to tab between each field. Some of the fields like phone numbers and identification numbers, you could add more than one by clicking this little blue link below each field. We could add a brand new case by clicking the Add Case button when we're done. But please note that there's additional information that can be recorded under this Add New Case screen. You may see an arrow out to the right. This little triangle button, if I click it with my mouse, we'll go to the second of the Add New Case dialog screens. We have the identification section, which we just were on. Basic identifying information for the client is collected here. The second tab, Income and Expenses, is where income and expense information is recorded. Again, we can click Add Case at the bottom or continue to the third tab, Demographics, either by clicking this tab at the top or the arrow in the bottom right. Demographics are additional details set up by your food bank to capture information that may be helpful for you for reporting later on. This list of demographics can be adjusted if you see anything that you'd like to change. Just reach out to your food bank staff. I'll now click the Add Case button. Here we have a brand new case entered in for the client Kyle Minkler. Just to recap, the first step is to always search. Step 2, if you don't find that case in the search results, you click Add New Case on the left. Step 3 is to click to the Relationships tab on the right and add any other household members in that family. Let's say Kyle here has a wife named Sadie and a son named Henry. We need to add both Sadie and Henry under the Relationships tab. We click either the Add Relationship button or Create a Relationship. And on the screen that appears, we'll fill out some basic information about these household members. If there was additional household members, we could add them here or click Add Another Household Member to open up an additional row of household members. When you're done, click Save. Now we've added a household made up of Kyle, Sadie, and Henry, 3 people. The final step would be to go under the Assistance tab and record an assistance record for whatever was provided to Kyle and his family today. Now for Kyle's assistance record, let's say that the category of assistance that we've selected requires a digital signature. If we have a category of assistance, for example, USDA distribution, that does require a signature, when you add this assistance record, it will prompt the client to sign for the assistance below. The client can sign using a mouse on your computer, a digital signature pad that plugs into the USB port of your computer. Even a tablet or a touchscreen device can capture signature on behalf of a client. Kyle will sign on the screen and then click the green Submit Signature button. Here we can see the assistance record is captured just like before, but this particular type of assistance did require a signature, and we can see that here. When you added this new household, you may have noticed a yellow bar at the top of the case speaking about a release of information form. This message is a reminder that a release of information form, or ROI, is required to share anything about the client with any other organization outside of yours. We want to make sure that the client does consent and is aware that their basic information as well as assistance information may be shared with others on Oasis Insight. A client release form, or ROI, can be activated for any network that wishes to share individuals' information in a very secure way. An ROI is required whenever a client's basic identifying information may be shared with more than just your organization. For example, a network of several service providers working together could share client information, someone's name, address, phone number, etc., to help reduce duplication with the end goal of best serving that person. We provide a release to every one of our networks, but your network administrator may choose to upload their own release of information form to override the release that we have. Let's take a look at some of the basic functionality within the system to record and verify release of information forms. Now we've logged into the system. There are 3 ways that a client can review and agree to this release of information form. The first way is on paper. You could print a blank copy of the release of information form by clicking Add New Case on the left, and in the top right corner clicking the blue Release of Information Form link. That will open the release form with no information being filled out, and we can click Print ROI and make copies of that for new cases that are added in the future. Once a release form is signed on paper, you will need to keep it on file there at your location for a minimum duration of whatever it states on the release form. Most networks, it's a 3-year minimum. Furthermore, if you have the Pro or Plus version of the system, you can upload that ROI, as I'll demonstrate later. The second way is for the client themselves to review the release form and sign it digitally within the system. This process begins when a new case is created. Always search first to make sure you're not duplicating a new case, but then click Add New Case when you're ready to proceed. Fill out all of the information on the Add New Case screen. Next, if applicable, we'd go to the Relationships tab and add household members here. These household members will show up on the release form we'll see in just a minute. You'll notice a yellow bar at the top of any new case that's been created. This yellow bar reminds us that a release of information form is required in order for this case information to be shared with other organizations on your network. Click Create New ROI. On the first window that appears, the date on the release form is established, but we can backdate any release form if we need to the date that it was actually signed. If we're signing it live, like we're going to show right here, we would keep today's date. This release form covers everyone that lives in that household. So Robert, Sally, and Tommy are all covered on one release of information form. You don't need to get a separate release form signed by Sally, his wife, or anyone else in the household. Also, the minimum time that release form is valid is displayed right here. Every network can have a different time, but we, by default, have this in place for 3 years from the date that it's signed. Click Next. Here's a release form that's been filled out with Robert's information. I can click Print ROI up at the top and have him review this on paper if I want, or I can scroll down to the bottom. Here's where the client, after reviewing, would sign. We click here, and the window that appears, I can use a touchscreen computer or a mouse or even a digital signature pad. There's several different models that work great with the system. We can provide information, just contact our support team. Also, me, the agency representative that's entering this new case for Robert Williams, would also sign here in the bottom right. Something to note, if you're using a browser that's compatible with the Topaz signature pad, you can always check this little checkbox in the bottom right and activate that Topaz functionality. So there we have the release form signed by both the client and the agency representative. The last step is click Verify ROI. That locks in the signature and keeps that release form on file for the required duration. Here's also where I could upload a signed copy of the release form from paper. I could click Upload Signed ROI, find that file on my computer. Maybe I've scanned a copy of that release of information form to my computer as an image or a PDF. I can click Browse, find that file, and upload it here. Whether it's uploaded or signed digitally as we just demonstrated, we click Verify ROI. If you're ever wondering what release form was signed and when, we can always see at the top of a case the Show ROI link. If I click Show ROI, it expands the window and shows that yellow bar. It shows what agent from what agency verified the release of information form and when it was verified. At any point, we can click Renew ROI and get a new release form on file, and it would override the existing release of information form. Also, you'll see this colored banner reappear once it's time to get a new release of information form on file for that case. If you see that colored banner, you want to take action and follow the same steps we just did a minute ago. One other way that the release of information form can be reviewed by the client is via the kiosk or remote intake feature. Whenever a client visits a kiosk on site or the remote intake link via your website or may have been emailed to them, they can fill out their own information that will go directly into the database. They would click Start Here, fill out their case information, just like a staff member or a volunteer would submit using the Add New Case screen. At the very bottom of the kiosk or remote intake screen, once the case is submitted, in this example, Wanda Jones would review the release of information form, and down at the bottom, click to authorize the digital signature. Wanda would type in her name and click OK if she understands and acknowledges that the release of information form applies to her and is agreeable. Now Wanda's case has been entered into the database. That release of information form is associated with it. You may be an agent at an agency that sees a high volume of clients in a short period of time. For example, your pantry might open its doors and have a line of clients out the door, and you'd likely want to get those people in and out as fast as possible. There's a couple options in Oasis Insight that might best serve you. One tool we've developed is called Add Multiple Assistants. What you're able to do is generate a report, which is essentially a client roster. It shows a list of all the clients that you've served in the past in alphabetical order. This client roster is generated under the Reports tab here under the My Agency section. Using a printed copy of this roster, what you're able to do is make a check mark or write a number to the left of each of the clients that were served that day during the distribution. We could use this unique case number that's generated out of the system to add multiple assistants to reflect all the clients that were served in that day. To access the Add Multiple Assistants tool, we visit our My Agency tab and then click on the Assistants subtab. Here to the right, we click the Add Multiple Assistants button. On the screen that appears, on the left side, we'll set up whatever the assistance was that was provided to everyone that day. Usually, you can group the assistants together by number of boxes or bags. Let's say everyone we served with one box bag, we'll enter them in right now. On the left, we entered amount of 1, the unit boxes bags in this example, and then the category will be food pantry box. Change the date and time on the assistance record to reflect when the assistance was actually provided, let's say today at 10 a.m. And then on the right side of the screen, we'd read off of the client roster everyone that received one box of food today. And we'd enter in that unique case number here on the right. Below, we'll see a list of all the clients that received one box today. Then we click Add Assistance. All of the clients listed on that previous screen now have an assistance record associated with their case. We could repeat that again by clicking Add Multiple Assistants, this time for everyone that received 2 boxes bags from the food pantry. On the right, we enter in those clients' case numbers. And then click Add Assistance. We hope that you find the Add Multiple Assistants tool to be helpful at your organization. Another feature of Oasis that has been really successful for shortening the line and moving people in and out quicker is barcode scanning. Using a barcode reader or barcode scanner like the one we have here on the screen, you can easily scan a barcode that represents the individual coming in for services. That barcode could be an ID card printed from Oasis, the back of many state driver's licenses. There's a one-dimensional barcode that could be used. Even a sticker, like an inventory sticker or key tag card, could be purchased. The idea is that barcode represents that person, so whenever they come in for services in the future, we quickly scan using a barcode scanner. We can quickly scan that barcode and then record what assistance was provided to them. Now, if you don't have a barcode scanner, you can follow along with this training anyways, and hopefully it will paint a good picture as to how it can be used. If you have access to the barcode scanning feature, you'll see a third button on the left that says Barcode Mode. We can click Barcode Mode to activate this feature and begin scanning ID barcodes. Whenever we scan a barcode from this screen, Oasis will bring up a quick summary, and you could then in turn scan a barcode for whatever service was rendered. There is an option here where I can uncheck that box that says open this window whenever a barcode is scanned, and whenever I scan a barcode, it will not open this window but directly go to that case file. Just like you searched, but you bypass the search altogether. Another shortcut is if someone forgets their ID card, you can always reference a case number here in the top right. Type in that case ID number and it'll quickly open up the case. We'll come back to barcode mode later, but let's start with the basics. Let's go to someone's case file and begin looking at how an ID card or a barcode is associated with that person. Earlier in the training, I alluded that there'd be an additional link in the bottom right of a client's case called ID card. When we click on ID card, it opens up a window where I have a few options. First, I could print out an ID card for John by clicking the Print ID Card button. This would go directly to a printer where you could print out the ID card on a normal piece of paper or cardstock. Additionally, I could download the image. Some printers, like the Badgie 100, can take this image and print the ID card to a plastic card using this image. If you'd prefer to print out ID cards in a batch or bulk, there is a way to do that by running a report called the Multiple Avery ID Card Report. That would be found under your blue My Agency tab, under the Reports section. You can run this report, Multiple ID Cards Avery 8371, and it will print out multiple ID cards to a sheet. Like we see here on the screen, this is an alphabetical list of 10 ID cards that are perfectly positioned to be printed on the Avery business card template. The Avery business card template is sold separately. Returning to our example case John Smith and clicking the ID card link on the right, we have another option to explore. We can associate an existing barcode with John's case in Oasis so that whenever he comes into the future, that barcode could be scanned. An example would be the back of a driver's license. I could click the Add Barcode button, take my barcode scanner, and scan the one-dimensional barcode that's found on the back of most state driver's licenses. Scan that barcode 2 times to confirm that the barcode is correct, and now that barcode is connected to Mr. Smith. Both the barcode from the ID card printed from the system or the driver's license number will work to open John's case. We can add multiple barcodes by clicking Add Barcode again. Now that the barcode is associated with John's case, let's run an example. We go into barcode mode, and I can take my barcode scanner and scan either the ID card printed from the system or the driver's license. Next, we can scan barcodes that represent commonly provided services. I'm going to scan a barcode that represents a box of food that was provided. Also, community kitchen meals, and maybe items of clothing. You can't see, but I'm using my barcode scanner to scan barcodes that I've set up for each of the different services. Once they've been scanned, I can update the amounts right here if necessary and click Confirm, and it will record all that assistance. The next person that comes in, I can scan his or her barcode and then record whatever she was provided. Click Confirm when we're done. Now, you may be asking, how are the barcodes set up that represent the assistants? You can always access them here under the Available Barcodes link in the top right if you don't have a printout of those barcodes. If you don't find any barcodes here, we need to set those up. Agency administrators can set those up under their blue My Agency tab. You go to the sub-tab that says Barcodes. Let's say we wanted to create a new barcode today that represented Thanksgiving meals that we're providing soon. To create that barcode, I click Add Barcode on the right. The barcode name, I'll say, is Thanksgiving meal. The category that it needs to represent should be in the list already. If it's not already in the list, that can be added under your blue My Agency tab under the Categories sub-tab. You want to have a category that represents the barcode that we're creating, Thanksgiving meal. The assistance amount can be added next. This is a default that whenever that barcode is scanned, it represents X number, in my example 1, then the unit, meals. Select the meals unit, for example. If you want this to be set in stone every time you scan the barcode it represents 1 meal, we would not check this box. If we want it to be a variable that we can edit, we can check that box right there. Whenever we scan the barcode, we can update the assistance amount to something other than 1 if that checkbox is checked. I can put a description about the barcode and click Add. Once I have my barcodes added, and I could repeat that add barcode process over and over again, I click Print Barcodes next to print out usually a 1 sheet of all my barcodes, or I could set certain sheets of barcodes for certain types of assistance if I want. You can have a page title, a description, and then you can choose the layout for your barcodes. I prefer the 1-column layout, but you could choose 2. You could also opt to include a confirmation assistance barcode, so I just scan whatever was provided, and then to confirm, instead of clicking the green button, I can just scan a barcode that says Confirm. Next, I have the option to include all the barcodes if I skip this, or I can expand and choose just certain ones. I'm going to go under Seasonal and say, on this printout, I only want the Thanksgiving meal barcode and the confirmation barcode. Click Print. I would then print this to a printer. Furthermore, you could laminate that if you want to. Now let's go back into barcode mode and use this new barcode. Now let's say we have a group of clients that are receiving Thanksgiving meals. I would scan the person's barcode. Next, I would scan the barcode that I just printed off for Thanksgiving meal. Also, I can scan the barcode that confirms. That's it. Now that person, Jane Q. Public, will reflect 1 Thanksgiving meal was provided today. So just to recap, under a client's case file, go to the ID card link on the right to associate a barcode or print off an existing barcode. Again, you could print off batches of ID cards using the Avery Business Card template under your My Agency tab, then Reports sub-tab. Look for the Multiple ID Cards report. If you don't have that report, you can contact the support team, support@oasisinsight.net, and we'll get that set up for you. The other part of this is setting up your barcodes that represent the assistance you provide. That can be done by an administrator of your account under the My Agency Barcodes sub-tab. Print out the barcodes, and you can use that in conjunction with the ID cards. I'd like for us to explore some of the sub-tabs found under the blue My Agency tab. We were here earlier, but I want to revisit and look at some of these areas in more detail. Starting first with General, this is where we can add agents from your agency. We can also edit the agency information here, hours of operation, other information about our organization. Please note only agency administrators have access to the edit agency information. An agent does not. The subtab Cases here is where I can see a list of all the recently created cases. The most recently created case file will be there at the top. We can also filter by a particular agent at our agency and see what cases they've entered in. Please note at the bottom right, you can change pages and go back in time further if you need to. The Assistance tab is simply a list of all the assistance records that have been recorded by our agency. The most recent assistance record will be there at the top. This is where we find the Add Multiple Assistance tool, which we looked at earlier. And again, you can click the different pages in the bottom right to go back in time if need be. Categories. Here's where we can create assistance categories that are used whenever we record an assistance record. We click Add Category. The window that appears, we can select a section in which the different category might fall under. We can name the category, add a description, a default amount whenever that category is selected, a default unit whenever that category is selected, and lastly, attribute a fixed value to an assistance record. For example, if we were providing a meal, every time that meal was provided, it might have a fixed value of $8.50. I can set that fixed value, and if we provided 10 meals, the total dollar amount would be $85. Click Add Category to create your new category. One other thing to point out is global categories are categories that are set up by your network administrator and are available to all agencies to use on the network. Agency-specific categories are only available to use by your staff. And you manage them here under our My Agency tab, the Categories subtab. Barcodes is where we go to create assistance barcodes and also print the barcodes out, as we saw earlier in the training. Appointments is where we can review any scheduled appointments. The list of all the clients that have been scheduled will be here on the screen. We can filter by different appointment types, by appointment date ranges, even print or export a CSV schedule of all those clients that have been scheduled appointments. Managing appointment types is done here as well. We click Manage Appointment Types, and here's where I can create different types of appointments that we can schedule people for. On every appointment type, you can specify the recurring or one-time date that the appointment will be set for, and manage other parameters such as capacity per time slot, or whether an appointment type has a reminder via email or both email and text. Broadcasts, if you're on the pro level of service, you'll have access to this broadcasting feature. We'll unpack that more in just a few minutes. But in short, here's where you can see your broadcasts that have been sent. Each agency in Oasis can generate reports specific to what they've contributed to the database. I can click on the blue My Agency tab for my organization, my food pantry, and click on the Report sub-tab and see several different types of reports that can be generated. Any of these report types here are looking at a specific piece of information in the database. For example, if I wanted a list of all the cases that my agency has served, I can use the Cases report because this will look at just cases created by my agency, whether I've served them or not. The Assistance report type will look at any assistance provided. If you recall, under a Client's Assistance tab, whenever you record a new assistance record, that gets added to the system. The Assistance report type is looking at assistance. No matter what type of report you choose, it's a two-step process to get the information out. Let's say we want to run an assistance report for the month of May 2016. We'll click on the Assistance report type. On this first step of the two-step process, in the top right, we can choose a format for our report. There's three format types: list, table, or CSV. CSV format is like an Excel file. You could download this assistance report to your computer and open it up and work with it using Microsoft Excel or a similar spreadsheet program. Table and list are two quick, simple format types that will get you your information fast. Table is a little more condensed than list. Table is a little more printer-friendly. List is a little more expanded. I'm going to select the table format for my report. Also on this first step, I have this list of filters that I can choose from. I can use one or more of these filters to narrow down my report based upon certain criteria. I'm going to use the filter by date of assistance and focus on just the month of May. I can narrow this down further by a specific assistance category. I can select just the assistance categories I wish to report on. Or If I don't use any of the filters, it will include all categories. When we're done, we click Next. That concludes the first of the two-step process. On the second step, here at the top, we can order our assistants. We can choose oldest to newest, newest to oldest. We can even sort by a certain category of assistants, or I like alphabetical order, which is what you have when you select case name. Below that, we have different fields that can be displayed on the final report. If you want that field to be displayed, you check the checkbox to the left of it. If you do not want it to be displayed, you can uncheck the checkbox and all corresponding data related to that field will not be displayed. If I do want a summary, I will leave it checked, and below that we have all our summary related fields that I can use my mouse to pick and choose what's going to help me the most. The assistance table section here is going to show details as to what makes up this summary section. The table will show row by row by row each assistance record. Any detail about the assistance record, again, I can pick and choose using my mouse to include or exclude certain fields. When I'm done, I'll click the View Report button at the bottom. This is our assistance report for the month of May. We can see here at the top that I chose to include report filters, so we see that the report was focusing on the month of May 2016. Below the report filters, we have our summary. I chose to include dollar assistance as well as the total number of units, boxes, bags. You could also include pounds, items to reflect any units that are being distributed by your agency. Below that, the total number of households assisted is displayed in the summary. We see that for the month of May, our agency served 3 households made up of a total of 10 people. We impacted 10 household members in 3 households this month. Above that, we can see broken down by age ranges the number of children, adults, and seniors that were in those households. Below that, there are no new households that were assisted for the first time this month. Below this blue bar that goes from left to right, we can see the table portion of our report. Row by row, we can see each assistance record that was rendered for the month of May. If we clicked on the name of any of these clients, we could open up their case file directly from the report. You may note that the columns that are selected here on the table directly correspond with the checkboxes on the last reporting dialog. If we really like this report, we can print it out. In the top right corner, there's a print report button. You could print this to paper, or if you have a PDF printer on your computer, you could print this to a PDF file. I'm going to click Go Back. Now, if we really like this report and we wanted to save it, we do have a section under our Reports sub-tab here called Saved Reports. Any recent report that we generated will be listed here under our Recent Reports list. We'll see the 10 most recently ran reports from our agency. The most recent will be here at the top. I could click the blue link to access the report that we just saw a moment ago. Or to the right, I can click Add to Saved Reports. The Add to Saved Reports link moves the recently ran report under our Saved Reports section. We can see that here. To the right of any report, I can click Edit to change the name of the report or any of the reporting parameters. I can copy to make a duplicate of the report. Maybe if I wanted to save one report and create a duplicate for next month, I could click Copy to do that, or Delete to remove the saved report. If I wanted to rename this report Kyle's Favorite Monthly Report or something like that, I would click Edit, rename the report, and then in the description box, I could put a little more detail if I wish. At the bottom, I click Save and Continue and follow the prompts. The first prompt will allow us to change the format or any of the filters that we used on the original report, but it remembers everything we did before. Next screen, we can make small adjustments to any of the fields that we checked or unchecked, and then click Save and View Report to look at it, or Save and Close. To use the Add Multiple Assistants tool most effectively, a client roster that includes the client name and a unique case ID number is needed. To generate a client roster for your agency, you'd likely want to start with the Cases report type. A Cases report is to be printed out. so that it can be used during a distribution. I would suggest selecting one of those formats that make it most printer friendly, such as table or CSV. I'll select table. We could filter by any of the criteria by expanding any of the filters, but I'm just going to click next. We likely want the roster in alphabetical order by case name or head of household name to make it very easy to find in a hurry. Below that, commonly you'll uncheck the report filters and uncheck the case summary box, leaving only the cases table and corresponding fields below. It's important that the case number is included on a roster because that's the piece of information that's used on the Add Multiple Assistants tool. Select case full name, maybe date of birth, street address, phone number, any other details that would be helpful for reference. Here's an example of a client roster. If our client Aaron Abbott was served today, we would mark on the roster with a pen or pencil and then use the Add Multiple Assistants tool in Oasis later on, using the case number as the reference. I could print this roster out by clicking Print Report in the top right, or I can save this under my Saved Reports section. Find that recently ran report and click Add to Saved Reports on the right. The report is displayed here at the top of my Saved Reports section. I can edit it to rename it or change any details about the roster. Follow each of the prompts on your saved report and click Save and Close or Save and View. Whenever I need to print out a new client roster, I can just click this link and it will reopen that roster at any time. If you have access to the pro level of Oasis, the SMS text broadcasting feature is a tool that you can use to communicate to your clients. Our desire was to provide a tool that would allow you to notify a group of cases quickly via an SMS text, so you wouldn't have to reach out to the individuals one by one. Now, the broadcast feature starts out with a report. We can create an audience, if you will, of the individuals we wish to reach out to using a report. Let's do a couple examples. Let's say we have a new program starting in our food pantry for just women over the age of 25. I could create a cases report, filter it by the gender female and the age 25 or older, and broadcast a text to them letting them know about the new program. Let's do that example together now. We start with the cases report. I like table format, and here's where we filter to identify the exact audience we're looking to reach out to. I'm going to click Filter by Demographic Profile Match and select just the gender female because my program is only for women. Also, due to the age restrictions, I'm going to put a minimum age of 25 and a maximum age of, let's say, 110. Now that I have my audience filtered, I click Next. Uncheck anything we don't need. I just want a listing of the client's names. So I'll uncheck everything else and click View Report. Here are the 10 people that represent my audience. Next, up in the top right, if you have access to this feature, you'll see a Create Client Broadcast button. Click that to begin your broadcast. At the top of this window, the recipient list will be generated, and when that completes, you'll be ready to send. Next, create a title for your broadcast. Please note that that title is not shown in the SMS message. Next, create your message. Now you'll notice one SMS text message contains 133 characters. Please know that you can go up to 266 characters, but it will use another SMS credit. To comply with regulations, 27 characters are reserved to automatically include reply stop to unsubscribe for all outgoing SMS messages. I can choose to send my broadcast right now or schedule for another date and time in the future. Also, by default, whenever a delivery is made, a note is created on the client's case file. I can choose to save this as a draft or send it. Now we're under our Blue My Agency tab in the Broadcast sub-tab. We'll see information like the number of cases that were reached, the estimated cost, and also a log file is generated at the end of the broadcast so you can see details about who received it and what happened. Your available balance of credits is also displayed here. We start everyone out with 100 credits, but you can purchase additional messaging credits here using a credit or a debit card. The credit pricing is currently 1.5 cents. So to put it in perspective, if you were to purchase $1 worth of credits, you'd be able to send about 67 texts. These credits can be purchased on an as-needed basis. There's not a subscription that requires you to buy a certain number of credits every month. Just put in the balance you wish to add and your credit card information and then purchase the credits. The credits will then be immediately available for you to use. One other thing that's really helpful is if a client does not receive SMS text on their phone, the feature is smart and it knows to switch to a text-to-speech option. So someone could answer the phone or receive a voicemail of your message read instead of the text. Just so we get the hang of it, let's do one more quick example. Let's say we have people scheduled for an appointment later this week on Thursday. Our facility will actually be closed, so we want to let those individuals know to contact us to reschedule. An appointments report would be helpful to run and create my audience. Click Appointments, and on the first screen, I can filter by appointment date, particular agent that entered in that appointment, or an appointment type. For this example, everyone we need to contact is scheduled for November 18th. And they're part of our weekly food pickup appointment type. Click Next. Again, I can pick and choose whatever I want to see and click View Report when I'm done. Here is a list of the 6 people that are scheduled on November 18th. I want to create a broadcast for just them. Click Create Client Broadcasts. We're going to give it a title and then a message. Now this message is a little bit longer. You'll see it switches from 133 characters to 286. We can then save as a draft or send right away. We hope you take advantage of the SMS text broadcasting feature. We're excited to roll it out. If a first-time visitor comes to our organization for help, we always want to search first. If we search for that person and they're not in the system yet, we have the option to add someone new as a new case. We're already familiar with that. But let's say we wanted to expand that, but with our new kiosk and remote intake feature found in the top right corner of the system, either on-site or remotely, we're able to allow the client to enter their own information directly into the database. Starting first with kiosk, when I click that button, I can enter kiosk mode here by clicking this button. The device that we're logged in as, whether it be a tablet or a computer or a laptop, is in kiosk mode and cannot be exited without the use of a password. This provides a secure portal for the client to be able to fill out their own information. The individual would tap or click Start here, fill out their information, and it goes directly into the system as a new case. To exit kiosk mode, click the Exit Kiosk Mode button and enter your password. The remote intake feature is used for off-site data entry. Again, click Kiosk, and you may see a remote intake link right here that you can copy to your clipboard. You could email or text this link to anybody who needs to fill out their intake form. That could even be embedded in your website as a button. To turn this on, you click Manage Kiosk Settings and make sure that the checkbox Enable Remote Intake is checked. Additional settings about the kiosk are managed here. We can even pick and choose what demographic fields we want to appear on the kiosk or the remote intake screen. Once the settings are in place, we can copy and paste that link anywhere we need. I'm happy to say we're in the home stretch here of our training. There's a few buttons to cover, and they're found next to the kiosk button. You see Feedback, Help, Contact Admin, and Log Out. If you have any suggestions or you find a bug, or just want to reach out to our support team, click Feedback to send us a message. Help goes to our online learning center. If you want to look up frequently asked questions, tutorial videos, download the user guides, or get our contact information, you can click Help to access the online learning. Contact Admin is a way to reach out directly to your network administrator. Again, if you're using Oasis just in-house, there's at least one network administrator at your agency. If you're a partner agency as part of a larger network, your administrator is the primary contact. click that button to send them a message. Lastly, log out. You will automatically be logged out of the system after a period of inactivity, but it's always a good practice to click the log out button to return back to the login screen. Thank you so much for attending today's training. We here at Oasis Insight are honored to serve you, and please know we're with you every step of the way here. So after today, if you still need any assistance or you'd like to schedule a time to talk with us, please feel free to reach out. The Oasis support team is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Central Time. You can chat with us at our website, oasisinsight.net. You can call us toll-free, 888-764-0633, or shoot us an email, support@oasisinsight.net.